Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Gale right here, and welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi video. And we are finally here to review volume 19. Yes, you heard that right. We are finally here. I know it's been a while since, the light novel released, and I know I said that I would get it out as soon as possible, but unfortunately, work and moving houses, they've been kicking my ass. Honestly, both of those things have been kicking my ass, but we're finally here. I am ready to review this light novel. I've read the entirety of it finally. Again, I've said finally way too many times, but just literally, it's like, finally I'm here to do it, and along with that as well, I decided to actually go back and take a look at my previous video as well that I made over a year ago when the light novel first came out in Japan, to see how I felt about it back then. Of course, it was a very rough translation, a lot of context is missing, obviously there's a difference between actually reading every single word on the page versus, getting a little bit of context and, putting it into an effective summary, right? There's a big difference, right? There's a big difference between the two. And so I wanted to actually take a look at what I thought back then and what I felt now to make a bit of a comparison as well on that front. Now, once again, before we get into this video, this is going to contain spoilers from the light novels. So if you aren't a light novel reader, please be sure to, obviously skip this video entirely and of course come back for another video on the channel instead. Maybe you can also put this as a watch later thing as well. Maybe once you're caught up with the light novels as well, you can watch this at a later time. And along with all of that, if you still want to watch it, be my guest. I'm absolutely fine with you guys watching it as long as you know that this is a spoiler review. Now, if you want to also mention anything in the comment section down below, what I would urge you guys to do just to be safer, to let people have a little bit of an opportunity to avoid any spoilers, is to basically leave a gap, put a spoiler tag, and just press enter multiple times and then put your thoughts in there. That way it's a little bit easier for people to just avoid any spoilers in the comment section as well, because sometimes people can scroll down to look at the videos on the right hand side of the page of YouTube or whatever it may be. So just to be safer than sorry, this will allow people to avoid getting, hit by any spoilers of any kind basically, right? Now, of course, if you also go on to enjoy this video and you want to see more content on the channel as well for Danmachi or anything of that sort, please be sure to leave a like down below and of course subscribe to the channel. It would be truly appreciated. Now, let's get into the review for volume 19. Volume 19 to me feels like a little bit of a return to basics for Omori, and I think that is a good thing, to be quite honest. Omori has taken massive strides in doing like very grandeur big arcs effectively, right? Ranging from the Xenos arc to the obviously the Deep Floors arc, of course, right, with Ryu and everything, to obviously the Freya arc as well, right? It feels like, it's been grand arc after grand arc after grand arc, big sequences and big storylines, right? This feels like it's a return to a little bit of basics basically, right? Back to the old days of like having a shorter arc, but a nonetheless very important arc nonetheless in terms of the character development side of things, and along with that the world building side of things. And I feel like it's a very smart decision by Omori to undertake this, because as it says at the very beginning of the light novel, in the beginning parts of the light novel, right, when the school district makes its first appearance, which is of course the focus of this arc at this moment in time, this volume and most likely volume 20 are going to be focused on the school district arc. One of the key things to know about the school district, and of course what it means to obviously the story, is it represents the outside world of Arario. Outside of Arario, what is that world? And to me, I think that is very important, because of course the dragon, the one-eyed black dragon, the end goal isn't necessarily in Arario. It's not in the dungeon. It's not underneath in the lower floors. No. The dragon's sealed outside of Arario, and it's somewhere out there basically. So the final fight is going to be taking place in the overworld, not the dungeon necessarily. While the dungeon will still have its role to play, as it did in this story as well, the dungeon isn't technically the biggest goal that Omori is trying to achieve with the story in terms of the final boss. The final boss is the one-eyed black dragon. Well, I say that there is also a good chance that, Omori might circumvent it a little bit by saying, oh, the one-eyed black dragon is the penultimate boss, They then have to go down to the lowest floor to find out the end of the dungeon in some way, shape, or form, which would be very interesting and actually kind of a nice twist on the whole situation. Y'all can let me know what you guys think about that potential idea as well, and that theory as well, that the one-eyed black dragon is actually the penultimate goal. There's going to be an even grander goal of all members of every single familiar or whatever it is going down to the very bottom of the dungeon, which would be very fascinating and interesting to see as well. But either way, that is another idea and another theory for another day. And I might actually expand on that idea as well in the future as well as the video. But again, I think with the school district, I think Omori made the right decision to bring them in now. You know, we've obviously dealt with the entirety of Arario. We've seen the deep floors as well. We've seen the floors even in Sword of Rotoria as well. Now it's time for us to see the world outside of Arario. We've been questioning where the other level 7 has been, right? Leon Vanderberg is his name. I hope I pronounced it right. Could be wrong. But Leon, the Knight of Knights, we've been waiting for him for a very, very long time, and he finally makes his appearance here. And again, it's just showing that, you know, we're finally gearing up towards that final fight. It does seem like that, right? You know, even Hermes says it himself to Hestia as well, that we're gearing it up for that final fight. And it comes back to the point I made in the volume 18 review as well. And this is something I'm going to link again quite a bit as well between volume 18 and volume 19. Is people are not realizing the reasons behind some of the decisions Omori is making with the story and plot line, right? A lot of people are like, oh, why didn't Finn and the Loki familiar join the final fight? And, you know, oh, Royman should not have been playing around Finn like that, and Finn shouldn't have listened to him about the one-eyed black dragon. But Royman is right. As much as I hate to say it, I think he's a bit of a cunt, to be honest. But listen, Royman was right there. There's bigger and more important things to consider than, you know, potentially losing, you know, the Loki familiar and Freya familiar members to one another. It makes so much sense on that front. At the same time, from the guild's perspective, it makes a lot of sense from that front. From a hero's perspective, from our perspective of like, oh, good versus evil kind of vibe and stuff, of course, you know, it is kind of frustrating that we didn't see the Loki familiar join up with the Hestia familiar and co to take on the the Freya familiar, sorry. But you have to realize that there is more important things, and Omori is hammering it down in this story as well with the very start. And I wanted to talk about that at the very beginning of this video. I know that technically there was some things that happened before that as well, linked to volume 18. We'll come to that in just a moment. But I think that, you know, considering all things said and done, this was the right decision from Omori to start with the school district arc. I know people are waiting for the Eyes arc and everything, and we know from an interview with Omori that the Eyes arc is coming very, very soon. I think that this was a very important arc that Omori needed to do very, very soon, and I'm glad that he started it now. It's time. We are in the end game of the story basically now. This is the start of the end game, effectively. And I think, you know, Belle needing to learn more about the world, Belle needing to understand what's out there as well, Belle needing to learn more about the heroes and people out there as well, you know, level 2, level 3 adventures, or, you know, basically people, I should say, because they're not really adventurers, they're not adventuring, they're just people who have that level 2, level 3 stats as well. And also in the case of Leon, level 7 as well. Learning more about them and understanding their situation as well. It is very, very imperative for Belle and us as the readers, of course, who are following Belle, to also learn more about it as well. So in my opinion, that was very important, 100% super important to get. Now, coming back to what actually happens at the very beginning, the prologue, effectively, of Volume 19, is the immediate ramifications of Volume 18, effectively, right? And I think they handled it well. I think Omori handled it absolutely well, to be quite honest, because a lot of people were frustrated that, effectively, the Freya familiar and everybody got off scot-free. And while they did kind of get off scot-free in a way, they technically didn't at the same time, because, of course, you know, they no longer exist. The Freya familiar as a concept is completely no longer there. Freya is no longer Freya. She is just relegated to Seer now. And then on the other side, the Freya familiar members, while they're still obviously loyal to Seer, the idea for them is that they are now actually absorbed by the Hestia familiar. They're effective retainers of the Hestia familiar, and they are a part of it technically. And this is something that they even go on to talk about, is that technically with the Freya familiar, the Hestia familiar should be classified as an S rank familiar, but they're now only classified as a B rank familiar, obviously upgraded from D rank. because of not only Belle's level up to level 5, obviously following volume 18, but also because they finally were able to recruit a character that we've been waiting to see be a part of the Hestia Familia for a very, very long time, and that is of course Ryu. I think it was the right decision. Finally, it's a good time to actually make her switch over. I know that people would say there were plenty of other opportunities as well in previous seasons as well, right? Previous arcs as well, previous volumes that Ryu could have joined at any given time. But I think it makes a lot of sense now. She's obviously done with everything to do with the Astrea Familia. She's managed to sort that whole side out. She's kind of done everything she needed to do to resolve that situation and that the issue she had with obviously what happened 5 years ago against Juggernaut and stuff, right? With Astrea herself, with of course the Deep Floors fighting Juggy and all, right? I think it makes a lot of sense that finally she's now ready to be ready to move on from the Astrea Familia. So again, really well done there. I think right timing, perfectly done by Amori on that front, to be quite honest, from my end. So what we do have now is a Hestia Familia that's consisting of Belle, Ryu, Lily, Mikoto, Haruhime, and Wealth, of course, right? Along with, of course, the Freya Familia members as an extension, more so basically, as a sub-familia, you could say, even more so than anything else. I think well done, to be quite honest, and of course it's quite entertaining to see, of course, Seer be thrown around by the gods and goddesses, because of course the only people who know that Freya is still Seer are the gods and goddesses and some other individuals like the Hostess of Fertility, Hestia Familia, and so on and so forth. There are only very few people who know that, actually. So in that sense, it's kind of also, you could say that, being thrown around by the gods and goddesses a little bit while she's working at the Hostess of Fertility is punishment as well. So I get that people wanted more extreme punishment for her, send her back to heaven, or send her into exile or whatever, right? But considering all things said and done, and of course the characters and their feelings towards her and everything, it's fine for me personally. I think I'm okay with it, to be quite honest. I have no real big issues with it, to be fair. And it also allows the Freya Familia to still be a part of Arario without them, retaliating or anything of that sort, or going any crazy, to be fair. It keeps them a lot more settled down, even if it does mean that they're relegated to effectively being a sub-familia effectively. I think that's absolutely fine for me, to be quite honest. So that is pretty much the start, right? The start is all of that. I really liked it overall. I think that was well done overall, the way they the way Amori laid out everything from volume 18 into volume 19, and then now the progression from volume 18 into effectively what is the next arcs of Danmachi, and setting up the big things. Again, like I said at the start of this video, this is a world building story right now. We're back into world building mode, and it does feel a little bit slow. It feels a little bit basic, a little bit simple, but I think especially with what's coming up and what we need to know, it's very important that we do have this shorter but simpler storyline to make us understand what the gravity of what's coming up, basically. You know what I mean? I think that is very, very important. Now, the school district itself, in my opinion, I think was super well done overall in terms of the presentation and stuff. I don't know what I was really expecting from the school district from when we heard about it way back when, right? With Aina and stuff like that. We heard about it way back when, of course, with Lafia as well. She is a part of the school. She was a member of the school district before she was picked up by Loki Familia, right? It is very impressive to see, to the extent to which it's, of course, gotten to, of course, and the way they've structured it, of course, with the whole school system, the classes, the familiars within the school district itself, the way familiars go to the school district to effectively poach students as well. I think it was fantastic. I think it was really well done. The classes itself as well, the different courses that people did and everything, I think was super well done. I think that was a very good description and example of exactly how it should have been structured in the first place. I think that was really well done. And Amori even goes on to actually talk about it in the afterword a little bit about like how he wanted this to actually be in volume 1. Now, I don't know if I would have liked it to be in volume 1, to be honest. I think it's kind of nice having it a little bit later, in all honesty, because I feel like this is something, the way the school district is structured, having Belle be a part of it wouldn't have worked really well, to be honest, with the way Belle is. That is to say, of course, Belle is a completely different type of fighter character, in all honesty, that wouldn't have had his personality mesh well with a school district, in all honesty. And we go on to see it in this in this story as well, when he does, take part as a student in the school district, of course, under a disguise, admittingly, but at least it's something a little bit different. It's a little bit different in that sense of like, okay, we get to see him in a school setting. And to be quite honest, I would have said probably no. I think I'm happy with the way Belle set out. Belle, the way to describe it, right? People say that Belle isn't a prodigy, and to be quite honest, I don't think he is a prodigy. He is somebody who is a very much practical learner. You have to give him everything, the tools and the know-how in terms of visual learning and actually doing it in use to be able to teach him. I think if you give him stuff otherwise, he's not that much of a learner in that sense. But yeah, if you get him into the practical side of things, I think he will learn exceptionally well. Of course, I'll talk about something that I really liked in this chapter, because this is a complaint people have had about Belle in this story. Sorry, in this light novel, I should say, that there's something that people complain about a lot about Belle as a familiar member and a captain that I want to talk about later on that happens in this light novel, which I really, really liked. So we have the school district come in, and of course, Aina, is kind of what is it, melancholic, kind of she has a lot of melancholy going on. She's very, very a little bit sad, a little bit wistful in a way, and we kind of learn basically that her sister is on board, Nina Tull, and I think that was a very interesting character to introduce, to be honest. Nina, and to be honest, the rest of the characters as well in the school district, of course, right, they're all very, very interesting, and I'll come on to them later on. But I think that was a cool way to introduce her and to bring her into the story as well. And I'm quite interested to see how her character goes, to be quite honest, because there's a very certain direction I think it's going to go in as well after volume 20 comes out, whenever Amori decides to bring that out. I don't think volume 20 will come out till next year, to be honest. I don't think it'll come out till 2025. Just a word of warning there. But basically, the story starts off with effectively, or the school district arc, I should say, properly kicks off with Hermes trying to infiltrate the school district with Belle. And it's one of Hermes' brain-haired plans once again, or it's one of his brain-dead plans, to be quite honest. I should say more so than brain-dead plan, again, once again, where he basically gets Belle into trouble somehow and gets him into another situation somehow. And then we learn the reason why he infiltrated Belle with Belle into the school district is to basically get him to effectively be a part of the school district as a student, effectively. And we learned the reason why he wanted Belle to be a student is exactly what I said at the very start. Is for Belle and us as the viewers to learn more about what's outside of Orario. And, he goes on to say that Belle's growth is indication that they want Belle to be, that the guild will want Belle to be on the front lines against the, effectively the one-eyed black dragon and the final of the three great crests. So again, it's more indications of, this is that world building going on. Basically, we're starting to build that world up again. And so we basically see Belle being found out by Lord Balder, one of the new gods that they've introduced, of course, right? Very well done, I feel like, with the characterization so far, the personality, the way he talks, and the way he's been portrayed. I think that's super cool that they've done that with Balder. And then we get introduced to the hero, the outside hero, the Knight of Knights, the level 7 character in Leon Vanderberg. I hope I pronounced the name right again. But Leon is introduced as well, and effectively this is once again, we are seeing everybody come together, and that is the most important thing, is we're seeing the big boys come together, the big boys and girls coming together. A lot of people are questioning, like, how is Belle going to, fight against the one-eyed black dragon? He's only level 5. He's only got a couple of months to go if we follow the 1-year timeline that Amori set. And I'm like, well, yes and no, because you do have 2 level 7s right there as well. You have 2 level 7s, multiple level 6s at this point, a load of level 5s as well. You've got a character who's capable of level boosting half of them pretty much to another level. So you've got 2 level 8s guaranteed there, basically, along with a bunch of level 7s and 6s. Obviously, I think that we're going to see another level boost for a couple of these characters as well, just because of the way it's structured and everything. Like, I'm expecting Otarl to get up to level 8, same with Leon as well. You'll see Belle getting up to level 7, level 8 by the time the story is wrapping up as well. Same with Eyes getting to level 7. So you're going to see all of these characters getting to level 7, level 8, basically, right? And so if you enhance them, they're gonna get to level 9, level 8s, right? And we know from obviously fact for the Hera and Zeus that they only had one level 9 and one level 8 and then a bunch of level 7s. So if you're going to go by that example where obviously with the level boost that Harahime is going to give, we're going to have a couple of level 9s, we're going to have a couple of level 8s, and a bunch of level 7s as well. And they also all have very different and interesting skills as well. You know, especially if you chuck in a couple of the other characters as well into like some supporting type roles effectively, right? With the gravity magic that Mikoto has, Welf's magic swords as well, when he gets to building them as well, because he's going to manufacture them, and so on and so forth. You're going to see things pop off, you know, in that sense. But yeah, I think that's a good thing that they've introduced Leon, because again, it kind of alleviates this pressure from a lot of people's minds of like, how is Bell going to face the One-Eyed Black Dragon? They have nothing in Orario, when it's probably not just going to be Orario taking on the One-Eyed Black Dragon, and it's not going to be specifically Bell or Eyes together, I should say, like some people think it is. I swear some people have this misconception that it's going to be Bell and Eyes only fighting the One-Eyed Black Dragon, I swear. But no, I think that's going to be something that happens, which I think is going to be exciting to see. So it was good to see him as well, and gets Bell to learn more about another level 7 character and how he holds himself and how he looks as well, compared to obviously the warlord that is, of course, Otaral, right? So I think that was pretty well done. Now, in terms of the whole storyline with Bell and him being a part of the school district, and then, you know, kind of hiding his identity and stuff like that and all that sort of stuff, right? I think that was well done, to be honest. I think you could say it may have been hit or miss, of course, right, in some ways, but I think it was well done. Of course, I know a lot of people would say, well, how did Bell manage to hide his identity? But you have to remember, these are just kids, man. These are students, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, just learning. I don't think they care too much about anything else apart from themselves and maybe their friends, basically, right? So a newbie coming in with little to no info, I think kind of goes under the radar really well in that sense, right? And to be fair, Bell, even though he had a couple of slip-ups nearly, he did a good job overall, I think, in terms of holding his own and in hiding his identity and stuff like that, to be quite honest. Even though he looks a little bit weird as rappy Flemish as well. But yeah, I think they did a good job with that. And I think, again, it's a good way to go back to basics a little bit. Again, going back to that Volume 1 style. It feels like, it really does feel, honestly, I will say this, I really do feel it feels like it's just an updated Volume 1 in a way, basically, right? It's a refresh from the very top effectively, and it allows us to get new characters as well into the storyline. We're gonna see these characters potentially around in the future. Obviously Nina is definitely going to be seen quite a bit in the future as well, and we get to see Nina pop off as well. Now, Nina is one of those characters who, along with the other three characters of the squadron that Bell was a part of effectively, because Bell was basically assigned to the squad effectively to learn more about them and to identify their flaws, because they were a really flawed squad. All of them had issues and the party wasn't performing extremely well, and to be honest, they were even saying that they could potentially die in the dungeon if they were to be sent like that, you know, just like that, with no potential cohesion and understanding between the party squads. It was very interesting in all honesty. So Bell obviously being a part of the squad, I think, was super important, because it gave Bell an experience as well as to what to do from a more supporter / tactician role. A lot of people have had an issue that Bell doesn't really feel like the familiar captain. It feels more like Lily, the vice captain, feels more like the captain in itself. But that comes down to Lily being the tactician. That is her role. Bell is on the front lines more often than not. And in this story, we get to see Bell performing the role of the tactician a little bit more. And you even see when Bell takes a little bit of a reprieve from being part of the school and everything, and goes exploring and goes dungeon diving with the Hestia Familia, he does take a little bit of a lead role as well, finally. And, you know, Lily is like, I'm very impressed with him learning more about the tactician side of things and, you know, doing a good job on that front, which I think is good. Again, a lot of people really think that Bell should be doing everything in one go, but I feel like this flawed version of Bell that, you know, is still developing, is still learning, is still, you know, identifying what to do effectively, is so much better than having him do everything in one go and immediately learning everything, right? And I think Again, even if we are 21 light novels in, right, or 19 light novels in, why did I say 21? We're 19 light novels in. I think him just now getting into that groove of things of like, because it's something you would just ignore, right? When if you have a tactician like Lily around who's really good with it as well, if she's around, then why would you need to do anything, especially if you have a lot of trust in her? All you have to do is say if you agree or disagree with the the decisions she's making, and go from there. And to be honest, Belle trusts her a lot to the point where he's not going to necessarily say no unless required to do so, and it's never happened realistically, right? So in that sense, Belle, I think, is fine, you know, to have to, you know, us getting an indication of that now, you know. I think that's something I even said in my previous video, so I absolutely think the same thing here as well. So yeah, that for me is amazing. And now with the other characters as well, before I keep going forward, with the other characters, I think they're all very interesting in their own right. Of course, right, Christia is trying to be basically the next Braver. You know, Ialin Mars, I can't remember his name, the dwarf, is a very annoying prick basically, but he has good intentions as well. He's just very like grumpy as a dwarf. Liai is actually pretty interesting as a dark elf, and then Nina to me is also one of the more interesting characters because she's obviously trying to follow in the footsteps of Aina, and she obviously says it as well later on to Belle as well, and under his disguise, and same thing to Aina as well, that Nina is just trying to copy Aina, and you know, she failed miserably every single time trying to copy her, to the point where she's just now becoming an adventurer and she didn't have a dream. I think her character really was well developed, to be quite honest. I know people will have a little bit of a problem with the ending. We'll talk about that in a moment. But honestly, I think Nina definitely did a good job with her, to be honest, in terms of just generally the way they approached with her. That whole sibling sort of rivalry going on between that, well, isn't going on necessarily, but you know, obviously indirectly and subconsciously is happening between Aina and Nina. I think they Omori portrayed that really, really well, to be honest, because that does happen. At the end of the day, if you are the younger sister and you're seeing your older sister absolutely do an amazing job, there's gonna be a little bit of not only jealousy, but the thing of like, you know, like she's doing so much, why am I not doing anything? I need to do something. I need to also follow in her footsteps, you know. She's so nice and everything, and I'm here, you know, trying to do the same thing, and I'm not able to do it. So I love the way that was portrayed. Again, a really good job from Omori in that front. I really, really like that. And to be quite honest, also along with that, I really liked her kit and design because it fits extremely well with the Hestia Familia. I think the entire arc as well is to basically fill out the Hestia Familia with the core members effectively. We might get more members in the future, but this story now, and I think the next chapter as well, is pretty much going to be filling out the Hestia Familia with the right members. Obviously, Ryu was the other, you know, main offensive character that they needed, right? Alongside Belle, that ranged offensive character that they needed. You obviously had Welf and Mikoto being like sort of like flankers, effectively supporter flankers, who would basically be able to help a little bit here and there with their magic and abilities, basically to, you know, slow down the enemy effectively, and help, you know, Ryu and Belle just lock on to the enemy effectively, right? Then you had Haruhime for, you know, supporting damage wise, right? Lily as the tactician, and the only thing they were really missing was a healer, and Nina is a healer. She has a insane ability which is able to cure every character on the field, which again will be really important for the dragon fight when the poison comes into play. So again, Nina is probably going to join the Hestia Familia, and she even goes on to say in the epilogue that she wants to join the Hestia Familia, and she wants Aina to be the one to sign her up as an adventurer as well. That was a really beautiful and cute interaction between Aina and Nina, in my opinion. I really, really like that interaction. But they go on to talk about that as well, and it was very, very nice to see as well. But yeah, I think the thing is with Nina, I genuinely do think that she will be a part of the Hestia Familia come volume 20. 100% she's going to be a part of it. And overall, for me personally, I really enjoyed this light novel. Again, I think I reiterate what I said in my previous video. I said the same thing previously as well, is that I think this is a nice return to basics, in all honesty. This is a good, you know, slow filler sort of storyline, but that's not really filler because it's a lot of world building. In fact, Omori even actually adds on in the afterword as well that he wants this to be a sort of like a setup volume as well, and this arc is entirely a setup arc for what's to come in the future. And I think it's right, honestly, the right decision, because there's still so much we need to know, and we don't know realistically about any of it. Honestly, we needed to go outside of Orario, and to get the school district, I think, was the right decision to make, in all honesty, on that front. Because we could have probably done Melon, we could have possibly seen the Poseidon Familia and stuff, and that could have probably given us an indication of what's to come as well. But this was also a really good decision, to be honest, because we get to see the level 7 character as well in this situation as well. But y'all can let me know what y'all think as well. I'm quite curious to see what you guys have to say down below in that sense. Loved this, by the way. That Aina in the background, Nina in the front foreground. Very lovely. Very, very lovely. Also, this is Rappi's thingy, by the way. This is Belle's hidden stats, basically. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I didn't want this to be too long of a video. I wanted to make it kind of condensed. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a lovely, lovely volume. And obviously, I didn't want to really kind of condense more of what I've already said in my previous review. Obviously, I'm going to leave a link to it at the end of this video as well, so you guys can go check it out. But personally, really enjoyed it. I think they absolutely smashed it out of the park. Omori smashed it out of the park in that sense of like doing the right making the right decision with the direction to take the next arc, rather than making it another big arc, or, you know, going straight into the Eyes arc or anything, having back-to-back like big arcs. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's build up the world a little bit more, and let's try and get the you know, rosters and people all sorted out in the right places to effectively get us to the point where we are getting ready for the fight, you know. So let me know your thoughts. I'm quite curious to see what you guys have to say down below in the comment section as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.